Co-Opinions. My name is Josh, and today I have Brent on with me.
Hello.
So Brent had a minisode that he's wanted to do for a little while, as we're coming up on the summer Blockbuster season. In fact, it's already begun.
Yep.
So Brent's wanted to do an episode that revolves around games that tie into Blockbuster movies.
Ones that have video game franchise association.
Right, and these primarily, there's going to be a lot of similarity between this and the comic book one.
Yeah, well, I started this last year when we did the Spider-Man thing.
Correct.
And, I mean, backstory, you asked if I had an idea, and I was like, well, I haven't got to talk about any of the movie ones that I wanted to do since Black Panther. No, wait, we briefly brought up the Rampage and Tomb Raider movies. Which
yes,
good.
But that's kind of... Well, I heard that the Tomb Raider movie wasn't inherently bad. I just heard there was nothing interesting about it.
I heard the Rampage movie was fun if you wanted to see a giant gorilla smash stuff.
I mean, I don't know what people were expecting.
Yeah.
Rampage was an arcade game in almost the purest sense
I
of
was
it.
expecting The Rock to turn into, like, some kind of mutant creature at the end, you know, a la Shredder at the end of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
Secret of the Ooze?
Yes.
Okay. Now, just as a quick aside, I really don't know what it's like when they made a Need for Speed movie and they tried to give it a plot. It's like, no, just guys, don't. Just don't.
That's what Fast and the Furious was.
Right. But anyways, Brent actually had some...
Oh, so I have games. So we're going to start back... Since we've been a little bit, we're going to start at the beginning of May.
So let's go ahead. What specifically about these tie-in games did you want to talk about? Just how the strengths of the games compared to the movies, or how they augmented each other, or what?
Well, I just wanted to relate certain titles to the franchises in question.
Okay.
Interesting games that existed for each one.
Gotcha.
You know, some... Like, in the case of the Spider-Man one, we talked about some bad ones and we talked about some good ones. But due to time, we're only going to talk about one for each of these.
All right, cool. So, let's have it.
Okay, so first we're going to start with Infinity War, which was a really good movie.
It was a really good movie. I was surprised to see that it isn't as beloved as I thought it would be.
I think it still is.
I mean, I feel like it didn't get as strong of reviews as I was thinking. Like, it's an 80 on Metacritic. I thought it would be like high 80s, low 90s.
So we're going to talk about a game that's good, but not as good as the movie.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Okay.
For this one.
Now, was this the same game you talked about when we did the co-op episode?
No, that was X-Men Legends.
Sorry.
But it's similar.
Okay,
in vein. Few notes on this one. I feel like I say not great. It did get good reviews.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion for this may be a little jaded
because
for two reasons. This came out in the height of the I got a Wii.
Okay.
So I was buying third-party games for the Wii. And I think that detrimented this. I should have got it on something else. Probably PS3 at the time, but I didn't have a PS3.
You had a Wii before a PS3?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I also got Call of Duty 3 for my Wii.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
All right. That's the strongest case you have, because really, that math doesn't seem to add up, but okay. Now was it Call of Duty 3 or Call of Duty 2?
No, it was 3. Yeah, it was 3. Because I wanted to know what FPSs on the system were like.
Gotcha. Didn't you get Red Steel? We're getting totally off topic. Focus.
Anyways, another reason is this game came out in 2006. Uh-huh. So while... As a child, if you asked me, what superheroes did you like? I would say Batman, Spider-Man, and X-Men. While I liked Iron Man, Captain America, Blade, until the MCU came along, it wasn't as big of a blip on my radar. I liked these characters, but I wasn't enthused. And I think that had a detriment to this because I wanted an X-Men Legends 3, and this wasn't that. So brief overview on the plot here. So essentially, Doctor Doom is the main villain. He's trying to take over the world, something like that, with a bunch of villains. So you're on an adventure to stop him and gather items before he gets them. You have to go get the Emkron crystal from the Skrulls while their planet's being destroyed by Galactus.
A lot going on here.
Yeah, I never finished this game. So... One of the things I really wanted to get, we wanted to get Blade, because I really wanted to play as Blade. And I remember getting to that, and I remember there's a toy dispensing machine you get to. Arcade is involved.
Okay.
Now you know what I'm talking about. The villain.
Right.
And we got him, and I remember that's where we got to. I don't remember why we stopped. I really can't.
Mediocre game.
It was fun.
But
I don't remember why we stopped. I really can't. But yeah, if I know we didn't get far enough because I don't remember fighting Mephisto.
Mephisto was a lesser boss than Doom. Now, I want to put something out there. If there is one thing I'd be stoked about for Fox being acquired by Disney, it's Doom is an awesome bad guy. I think that he has been wildly underutilized. Fantastic Four movies. So
I don't think he's been done right.
Well, definitely that.
They vote on that in July, by the way.
Nice.
So there's a lot of villains in here I didn't know you fought. So I know we didn't get far enough.
Gotcha.
I don't think it was a bad game, and it had a lot of the same mechanics as X-Men Legends 2. Team building, making sure you have the right team. You start out with Captain America, Wolverine, Spider-Man, and Thor.
Gotcha. Huh.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's an interesting beat-em-up lineup you start with there. There's a bunch of other heroes you can get throughout the game. Blade, Iron Man, Spider-Woman. So one of the interesting ones for the Wii was originally talked about real fast was they talked about adding Link and Samus into it. Something about something about it having to do with the PlayStation 2 version being on there as well. Nintendo wasn't happy, so it was taken off.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I think it was a decent game. I'd like to go back and give a shot at some point, just because I don't feel like I gave it a fair chance a decade ago.
12 years, actually.
Oh, God.
Right? It's been a minute.
No, I don't think we played it immediately. We'll go with that.
Okay. Next up is
Deadpool 2.
And
so
for these,
we're going to talk about Deadpool, but so note on this one before we get into it, because I don't feel like I can fully do Deadpool the justice it deserves, as I didn't actually play it. I saw a friend of the show, Mark, play it. He would be the one to have on here. So we're going to briefly skim over this one.
Mm-hmm.
Deadpool is a meta game about Deadpool wanting to make a game about himself and people denying him, so he kills them, and some other stuff goes on because it's a Deadpool game.
Yeah, that sounds right.
What I saw was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think the problem for me is that this was something a friend of mine said. He's like, well, the animated version of Deadpool, like, the only voice I can hear is Nolan North.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, I can only hear Ryan Reynolds in any version of Deadpool. I can't get into it.
Yeah, right.
So it's really hard for me to get excited about that. It's like other Batman that aren't Kevin Conroy. Not that there haven't been okay ones.
I like the one who voiced the Brave and the Bold Batman.
I don't know who that is.
Lewis from the Drew Carey Show. You've seen, he's been in a million things.
No, I know what you're talking about. Now that
he's the guy with the fuzzy black hair, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's the one who it is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, I wish Mark could have been on this, but bringing him on for just this game and everything else to get it justice.
Yeah.
It's an interesting game. I like the idea of it. Sometimes Deadpool jokes fall flat for me, but the movies do a good job portraying what I feel like Deadpool is like.
I haven't seen the second one yet. I will at some point.
Well, like, the game starts out because he wants a video game made, but the studio denies making it, so he goes and blows up the studio.
That sounds right.
And then he hunts down another guy from another studio and kills him.
Yep. All right.
Okay, let's move on to the one that's going to take up probably the most time.
Wrong. You had an anecdote.
Oh, right. Thank you for reminding me. So anecdote, since I don't feel like I could do Deadpool full justice, Deadpool does appear in X-Men Legends 2.
Yep.
He is not a horseman, like I told you. He's just controlled by Sinister.
Gotcha.
You defeat him, but once you beat the game, you get him as a playable character.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go back and replay the game with everyone, if you have him in your team when you go to fight him, they have a lot of super fourth wall breaking meta conversations.
Gotcha.
It's really interesting and kind of humorous. Because Deadpool spends 4 minutes trying to figure out where he's seen him before and then complains about it.
Okay.
And goes into a super existential crisis about having to fight yourself.
That makes sense. But anyways, the next thing that we were going to talk about is
Solo, a Star Wars story.
Okay.
So, when I mentioned this one to you, I wanted to do one that had Han Solo in it, but when I was breaking down the games, like, we've talked about most of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wanted to do one with the Millennium Falcon or Han Solo, but that's Rogue Squadron. We talked about that for The Last Jedi.
We did.
We've talked Battlefront before,
Mm-hmm.
all of them. And the only other games he appears in regularly are that terrible fighting game that I will talk about when we're out of Star Wars games to talk about.
Okay.
And the SNES games that I don't understand the appeal of.
Yeah, right. So what will you be talking about then?
So then I decided, then we'll talk about a game that doesn't have Han Solo. And
That makes sense.
And better yet, we'll talk about one where he is frozen in carbonite during the middle of it.
That makes sense.
So we are talking Shadows of the Empire.
Someone's excited.
I am excited. So backstory on Shadows of the Empire. As a kid who grew up loving Star Wars, I was born after the original trilogy came out and before the prequel trilogy came out. So this was a big deal. They started putting out new toys around like 95. And then they're like, we're going to do a whole multimedia thing. And the story is going to involve the time space between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. I'm like, cool. Going to be new toys. There's going to be a book. It's going to be a video game. There's going to be a comic book that features Boba Fett's story during it. And then there's going to be a soundtrack. They put out a lot of things for this multimedia storyline.
Wow.
So, but we are going to focus on the video game one because we are a video game podcast.
Correct.
So, the video game involves the story of Dash Rendar, a friend of Han Solo's from when he was in the Imperial Academy.
Okay.
They were both thrown out for varying different reasons.
Okay, and what is Dash Delicious's deal? Like, is he the guy you play as?
Yeah, he's the guy you play as.
Okay.
He's a side character in the book, since the book focuses on the main Star Wars characters.
Gotcha.
Anyways, for me, this game was immense because before this, the only Star Wars game I'd ever gotten to play was an arcade game. Like one of those. It had to be old enough because like everything was wireframe.
Ah.
Yeah. So this was a big deal because you got to play the Battle of Hoth, and that part was really interesting to me. It was broken up into 3 different levels, and the second level that you do, you have to escape the base on Hoth, and this one nerd thing right now, so you can say you're,
I mean, as soon as you said Star Wars,
I'm shocked you didn't do it then.
I thought about it.
The development team got to go to Skywalker Ranch and look through the Lucasfilm archive stuff for footage that wasn't used in Empire. And one of the side plots for the beginning of the movie that wasn't used was a bunch of Wampas, the big snow beast that takes down Luke Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
They were supposed to be invading the base, eating people and eating the things they ride, tauntauns. But they couldn't get the puppet
Puppets
to work right.
Yeah.
So they had to throw it out, and the guys saw this like, oh, we could add this in the game. There's actually a part in one of the trailers real fast where C-3PO rips a sign off a door, and then a stormtrooper runs up to it and gets pulled in the door and eaten. That was supposed to be part of the side plot. And there's a bunch of rooms where you run into them, and they're just rooms filled with Wampas waiting for you.
Huh.
So you have to fight them and snow troopers to get off the base, to repower the base to get out with your ship. There was another part where Luke was supposed to fight in the movie on a cannon to get to his X-Wing in the base, but they didn't end up using it. So they added stuff like that in when they saw it. So it was really interesting. I like this game a lot because there's a lot of different gameplay. Ship flying, it's third-person adventure, kind of platformy, but not like the... looking back on it, probably, yes, the game controls probably have not aged well.
Probably not.
Not the same kind of platforming that you super hate.
Which platforming do I super hate?
Early 3D platformers.
Gotcha. Just making sure we're on the same page.
Yes.
So this was interesting because it fleshed out a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and you got to play a lot of stuff. You got to play certain Star Wars battles you didn't get to, and you got to go. There are ship piloting levels. There was a middle level that I hated as a kid where you piloted a swoop bike and it's really fast, but if you get through this town and not crash, really hard to do. Now it's probably not that difficult.
Well, maybe. I don't know. Depends who's watching you.
I knew you were going to say that.
Absolutely. So what else? What else about this game did you find interesting from, how it compared to the movies and such?
I don't know. It was a game that I really loved because it was the first Star Wars game I ever got to really play and first 3D Star Wars game.
So do you think there's a chance that your enthusiasm is entirely nostalgia driven?
Partially, yes.
Partially.
I mean, it's a story I really want them to reintroduce into the new canon. So,
God, I was actually meaning to ask about that. Whether or not this was considered canonical.
It is not anymore. It's one of the few things that I really want from the old canon to be reintroduced. I know actually a lot of people do. So,
well, go ahead and start up your letter writing campaign and see what you can get done. But anything else about this before we move on to your next point?
No, we'll move on to the next movie, I think.
All right, and that would be?
Incredibles 2. Incredibles 2.
Man, I know I'm excited for this movie, but like I don't think I'm nearly as excited as most other people.
I'm excited, but it's been a decade, which this game is it's well over a decade.
Yeah.
Which this game is evidence of, because it came out in the GameCube PS2.
2007, I think. I remember selling this when I worked at Walmart.
I think it was before that.
Rise of the Underminer, right?
No, I lost my Wikipedia page.
Nice. So anyways, while you're looking that up, was this a direct adaptation?
Yeah, apparently there was more. So there was the direct adaptation one, which is the one we'll briefly touch upon. But apparently they made 2 sequels to the game.
Right, Rise of the Underminer, right?
Yeah, but there was the Incredibles game.
The Incredibles came out in 2004, so 14 years ago.
Oh, that's how long this movie was?
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking back to the meme, the "Don't bring your children, this is for me" one.
Yeah, this game came out in 2004, dude, so you were wrong. It was even earlier.
So, I mean, it's your standard platforming game from that GameCube-esque era. Mm-hmm. Apparently, they made a Game Boy Advanced version that was a little bit different. Yeah.
I mean, of course it would have been a little bit different. It was a Game Boy Advanced
game. You know, it's your standard movie to
game tie-in.
Yeah. With the story. Apparently, the only person they could get back to voice for the video game was Samuel L. Jackson. Which is really weird.
He'll do anything. Craig T. Nelson, on the other hand, has standards.
Oh, yeah. Real standards?
Mm-hmm.
Coach doesn't do anything.
Right. So, anyways, did you never played
I never played this.
Okay, and do you think there's going to be an actual game adaptation for The Incredibles 2?
I feel like we're past that point, unfortunately. Yeah. I feel like if Disney Infinity was still around.
Yeah, maybe.
Which The Incredibles were in. If there's going to be an adaptation, it's going to be cell phone based.
That's grim. So let's see. Rise of the Underminer. Was Incredibles 2 spoiled by a 13-year-old? Oh, no, wrong. The Incredibles 2 Lego game, fool.
Oh, yeah.
You suck.
Sorry.
God, your research is terrible.
So the only way we get movie adaptations now is via Lego?
Okay, fine. So I'm curious. Those are always delightful. So I'm sure this will also be delightful.
Yeah, no. Lego games are fantastic. I think that's all we can really talk about Incredibles since neither of us really played it.
No.
There will be a Lego game.
Yeah.
For the second one.
Well, we won't be playing that either.
No, probably not.
No.
I like Lego games.
Yeah, but we got only so much time in the day.
I still have so much of
games. You just
I have so much Lego Dimensions still to go.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, on to Jurassic World.
Jurassic World 2, Jurassic World Harder.
God. Fallen Kingdom.
Gotcha. I never watched the first one.
I like it.
I would have liked it, but my girlfriend, she used to get these screener passes all the time, but that's when I was still getting my master's. And the screener was on a night I had class. So she's like, hey, I'm going to go. I'll tell you how it was. Spoilers, it was awesome. You suck. But anyways.
So the Jurassic Park franchise is a plethora of video games.
Oh, yeah.
I have not chosen one of the better ones. So I chose this because, and I cite them a lot, Mr. Sunday Movie, they did a gameplay of this one for their Caravan of Garbage segment.
Gotcha.
And
so you haven't played this,
but I've watched it, and it's not good.
All right.
So Jurassic Park 2 Rampage Edition is So the first one came out on Sega at SNES.
Yeah, that one rocked.
So that was the adaptation of the original movie, and this one's published by Sega, only on Sega, and it's a sequel to the first game.
Are you the Raptor or Dr. Grant?
You can be both. So, spoiler plotline for a over 20-year-old game at this point. I guess
25.
Oh god. So I guess the plot is you were leaving at the end of the first one, and something about the way that this is described. So, Engine comes in to bomb the island. They come in to kill all the dinosaurs. Dr. Grant, either his helicopter crashes or he falls out of the helicopter. Either way, both. I like the idea that he fell out of the helicopter and no one came back for him. And he just gets left on the island.
I like to think either they didn't check or they didn't care. They're like, Dr. Grant, whatever.
Oh man, when I think action star, I think Sam Neill. So you play as him with a machine gun that is also a trank gun. Yeah, I don't understand. Because those machine trank guns that exist.
So wait, it is a machine gun and a trank gun.
Yeah, so you're not really killing the dinosaurs, but you kill the engine people. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. And eventually, like, you can eventually ride raptors.
Like Chris Pratt?
Yeah, but he rode a motorcycle with raptors.
So did the raptors ride on the motorcycle with him, did they ride
that was in the movie that was unproduced.
Oh. That was the best recut trailer. Anyways, you're talking about...
There were actually two areas in this game, the cargo ship and the aviary or whatever, that were actually in it because they were supposed to be in the original movie. I guess I didn't realize they were added into Jurassic Park 3.
The aviary?
Yeah, with all the pterodactyls and stuff.
Yeah, there was that big cage thing.
But apparently they were supposed to be in the first movie.
Oh.
Huh. Yeah, so I didn't know that until...
I think the third movie got a bad rap.
I think it's better than I originally gave it credit for.
I didn't think it was that bad. Mind you, I don't remember anything about it other than thinking this isn't that bad.
That's an A+ review.
Well, I mean, as opposed to what? The second one, Jurassic Park again, this time a T-Rex gets out?
I liked the second one.
I like the third one better than the second one.
Really?
Yep. But I like Dr. Grant as a character better than Jeff Goldblum's character. Huh. I like Jeff Goldblum better, but Dr. Grant's character is better than Jeff Goldblum's character. Right.
So you can select between him and the raptor, but the part clearly this game was not designed for the raptor. It was added in after the fact, which is made clearly evident by the level designs for the raptor part and the raptor's ability to somersault.
What?
Yeah. Do you remember when those raptors were somersaulting in the original Jurassic Park?
What I remember about the raptors from the original Jurassic Park was the one time the person put their hand into the shot to steady the raptor. It's in the final cut of the movie. You can still see it.
I have to go back and watch that.
Yeah, we'll look up the clip later.
I think that's all we can talk about this not so great game.
Well, I played the original one, and I thought it was a lot of fun, but I was also a very young child. I have no idea how it's aged.
do remember playing the original at someone's house, but man, that was a long time ago.
I do remember that the boss battle at the very end felt incredibly shoehorned in.
Is it the T-Rex?
No. Because if you remember, it's not really against the T-Rex at the end of it.
Right, it's the raptors.
Right. So when you're playing as a raptor, it's the raptor versus Dr. Grant. He wanted to say Dr. Jones, right? No, Dr. Jones. Anyways, and to beat Dr. Grant, you have to make a skeleton collapse on him. It's a 7-second boss fight. And if you're playing as Dr. Grant, you have to just kill 2 velociraptors, which I guess prior to this point you haven't been able to kill? I don't remember. It's weird. Everything else I enjoyed about the game, but I was also like 10 years old. So, but anyways, let's go ahead and transition off that. So we have another quick smattering.
Yeah, the next one I almost thought about taking out or combining with Infinity War. Ant-Man and the Wasp. Unfortunately, a lot like Black Panther, they've not been in a lot of games.
Well, Paul Rudd still got a chance to turn this around.
I went through both versions of Ant-Man to see how many games. Apparently, the Hank Pym version is in Marvel Ultimate Alliance as a non-playable character.
Gotcha.
I guess the biggest one is the Paul Rudd one is in Disney Infinity.
Okay.
So they added him in shortly after the original Ant-Man. I mean, they've been in the Lego superhero games. That's about the plethora that Ant-Man and the Wasp have been in anything.
And there's probably not going to be some massive multimedia tie-in for Ant-Man and the Wasp. I really feel like this Ant-Man and the Wasp movie is existing just to keep the fires stoked in between this and Captain Marvel.
Maybe? Well,
don't get me wrong, it's not going to be a bad movie, but I feel like after Infinity War, that's a hard act to follow.
It is. But also, I was going to say, originally Inhumans was supposed to be in there before
they made a terrible show,
right?
That got canceled.
Everyone just assumed it was already canceled.
I really thought it was already canceled. When they're like, Inhumans isn't coming back, I go, I thought after the first 2 episodes, they just pulled it silently.
They did not. They aired all 8.
Wow. That sucks.
Ballsy. Yeah, unfortunately, I like the character of Ant-Man a lot, so it's unfortunate.
Which one?
The movie version, I like Scott Lang a lot, but I've also liked Hank Pym in a lot of the cartoon versions. So.
Okay.
So let's move on to the last movie. And you actually... So... Mission Impossible Fallout.
Right, where Tom Cruise has to exist in a post-nuclear war land where the nuclear bomb was created, but the transistor was not, so he has to have power armor and wander through the Capitol Wasteland.
That sounds incredible. That's going to be the Fallout movie is actually going to star Tom Cruise now.
You heard it here first. We got the scoop. TMZ, eat your heart out. But go ahead.
So... Anyways, quick anecdote on this one was I was thinking about what game to do, and I'm like, I could do the Lego Dimension level pack, but I'm like, there's a chance we'll talk about Lego Dimension or make it talked about. I'm like, so let's not do that.
We talked about them vaguely in Toys to Life back in the genesis of this podcast.
Which was before the Mission Impossible level pack actually came out.
Maybe we'll do a post-mortem.
So... I decided, let's talk about the one that came out for N64 and PlayStation.
Yeah, was that the same game?
Yeah. I didn't know it came out for PlayStation.
I did not either.
Researching this. So, quick notes about this game first. Apparently, it was originally supposed to come out on the PC before the N64 was announced.
Fascinating.
And then the N64 was announced, and GoldenEye was announced. And they got a little... Because apparently they got afraid because of GoldenEye. They didn't want it to be the same. So apparently GoldenEye and Mario 64 inspired them. It never... When I read it up, I'm like, how did Mario 64 inspire you for this game?
Well, I mean, there's the scene where, what's his name? Ethan? Is he the main dude?
Ethan Hunt, yes.
Yeah. He takes the bad guys and swings them around by their tail and throws them off the platform.
I remember the part where he hops on people's heads.
Yeah.
But I was reading through... it was supposed to be a launch title for the N64, but then it got pushed back because of delays trying to make it different.
Gotcha.
I mean, most reviews cited it as okay, mediocre. I remember playing this, parts of it, but I don't remember it as well as you do.
Well, and that's the thing. Even I don't remember it that great, but I remember 2 levels being awesome. One is a gimme because it is... basically the supercomputer scene, the wire scene.
Yeah, where you're dropped down into the supercomputer.
Right, which I think probably hasn't aged great because in retrospect, all it is swinging back and forth to avoid lasers like a huge jack. And even as a kid, I thought it was problematic that when you went down past the lasers, like your rope didn't set them off in any way, shape, or form. Like, I thought that was weird.
Yeah, but that's the movie, too, if you think about it too hard.
And the other one...
Can't be worse than the Lego Dimension version.
I'll take your word for it. The other one was there is a mission near the beginning of the game where you have to get information from somebody at a party.
Yeah, so it's the beginning of the movie, essentially. Right.
And I thought this was a fascinating mission as a child because you actually got to do spy stuff. Like, all I remember in GoldenEye... was you just ran around and shot people the whole game. In this game, you had to trail somebody, you had to knock them out, you had to take their clothes, you had to steal their face, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that part.
Yeah. And then you use that face swap to get information. Like, this actually felt spy-y.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, GoldenEye is way more just an FPS than it is. I would compare more to the other James Bond game, The World Is Not Enough. In a similar vein, because The World Is Not Enough had levels that weren't just FPS-y, but I didn't get to beat that because I didn't have a memory card, so I could never save my progress on the N64.
Nice.
Yeah, right. But I think that about does it for...
the Mission Impossible and Blockbusters in general, right?
Yeah, I'll probably try and hit some later on in the fall during some opening segments.
Yeah, we're gonna... This is one of the last ones we'll be recording. Anyways, so, all right, Brent. Well, I hope you've enjoyed talking about all these Blockbuster tie-ins.
I have.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for coming on.
Yep.
And until next time, this is Co-Opinions.